What's up, guys? It's Casey Zolman, aka the fourth Sanderson sister, coming at you with a new Hocus Pocus theory video. In today's video, I'm throwing down a pretty outlandish theory that also makes perfect sense when you think about the first draft of the film, which I did go over previously, and you can watch that by clicking on this thing right here. The life potion. Why was it so pertinent to use it at that specific time in the Sanderson sisters' lives? Why wouldn't they have used it earlier on to straight up prevent themselves from getting old? Why share one child instead of kidnapping three to use the potion on? The answer is twofold. One, they didn't know it was actually going to work. And two, they were on the brink of a permanent transformation into dark creatures known as hags. Fair warning, this is a dark theory that may be upsetting to some viewers, so you have been made aware. If it starts to get upsetting to you, just go watch one of my happier videos. Go watch one of the happier ones. But if you like this kind of thing, stay tuned because it's going to get crazy. Now, I'm going to lay out the background information for this first before diving into more details on the theory itself. In the first draft of Hocus Pocus, which I have right over there, let me show you. It's right here. I got it. It's right here. I have proof. The sisters were brought back not in their younger forms, but in their state that we see them during the start of the prologue, ugly and haggard. It was also written that they can at will, or if forced, I'm not sure which exactly it was, as it wasn't exactly specified, they can turn into hags with razor-sharp teeth, talons, and increased predatory instincts. It was some frickin' nightmare fuel. Now, in the final film, we see them old and haggard at the beginning, and honestly, they do act a little bit differently than they do after sucking out Emily's life force. This will be important later, so put a pin in that for the moment and hold on to it. There were also deleted scenes that did not make the final cut of the movie involving a Candy Crow storyline, but they were indeed shot, and some of those were in the home video release trailer. This is also important for later, so stick another pin in it. We know Mother Witch from Hocus Pocus 2 gave the Sanderson sisters her book, and because of how they affectionately refer to her as Mother, we can also infer that she raised them and taught them for a time. We don't know how long. We just know it was for a time. She admitted to eating kids when Mary pointed out why people didn't like witches. Again, important for later. And lastly, there is a fundamental difference between witches and hags. Even in fairy tales, there was a difference between the two, but I'm going to use the more detailed description from the Harry Potter series, as the fairy tales are kind of vague about it. Hags are known as beings in classification of magical creatures. This refers to any humanoid creature like centaurs, merpeople, or vampires, just to name a few. Hags can produce magic like witches and wizards, but they are forbidden from carrying wands. Why? Because they eat the flesh of children and sometimes adults. However, that's not to say there aren't ways to stop the flesh-eating and cannibalistic tendencies. For example, there was the Society for the Reformation of Hags, founded by Honoria, that's how you say her name, Nutcomb, what a name, and Professor Regulus Moonshine, who invented a potion to help hags suppress their flesh-eating appetites. He was probably the more credible of the two. Now, all of this considered, we can now dive into the theory. When we first meet Sarah Mary and Winifred Sanderson, they are old and haggard in appearance. Rotten teeth, graying hair, brown nails, dark eyes, the works. Clearly, they've both aged and changed due to their habits of consuming children's flesh. So much so, in fact, that they lose control when either backed into a corner or in pursuit of prey, and turn into razor-fanged, taloned creatures that can fly for short bursts without the use of brooms. But it doesn't happen often, like in the first draft. I think it only happened like once or twice, and usually in a more desperate situation. Anyway, we never see this particular transformation happen in the film, and while yes, it was stuff that was probably deemed a little too scary and left out of further drafts, The Candy Crows played into this as well. There is still evidence of this originally taking place, thanks to deleted scenes that were indeed filmed but left on the cutting room floor. The Candy Crows, I'm just going to go as quickly as I can over this. Candy Crows were a potion candy that if a child ate it, they would kind of become a little dazed, and when Sarah sang it activated the potion effect, and then they would go to her. However, this kind of nerfed Sarah's powers, so I think they axed it out of the movie, and so she could have a more unique magic.
Okay, you got it? All right, we're going to move ahead. Sorry to slow you down.
This is where my theory really starts to take off. The Sanderson sisters never brewed the life potion before All Hallows Eve 1693. Not once. If they had, Winifred would not have said this.
Sisters, prepare thyselves. 'Tis her life force. The potion works.
It was clearly stated that they'd never used this potion before as long as you're listening carefully. Why was this necessary at this point? Why let the aging get this far? Because they weren't going to be human for much longer, and they had to reverse this time-sensitive transformation. What? It's not because of vanity? The short answer is no. They had vain tendencies, especially Winifred. I'll explain more about that later, but please make note that any time this is brought up, they always prioritize youth over beauty. They always say youth first. The life potion reverses the aging process by taking the years from a younger victim and adding them to the user. By reversing the aging, it reverses the effects of time on the body and the soul. The Sanderson sisters, again, never sold their souls for magic. Mother gave them the book. Winifred was born with magic, as were Mary and Sarah. They just hadn't aged into it yet. However, this brings me to Mother Witch, the woman who raised and trained them after Winifred's 16th birthday. So let's pull the pin out of her and bring down the paper. Mother has been around for who knows how long. We don't know. And she had a coven before the girls, sacrificing them when she used the Magicae Maxima. Book belonged to her before the girls, so she had the life potion and used it frequently to keep herself young and beautiful, even though she was all-powerful and immortal. We saw this example when she met the girls for the first time. She was about to off Sarah with it.
Thou look a thirsty child.
Let her go!
Why use the life potion if the spell granted her immortality? Because it didn't kill the creature growing inside her, a hag. The witches who consume human flesh begin growing a hag inside their bodies. The longer they eat the stuff, the stronger the hag grows, until it overtakes the host, transforms them into a hideous creature, and strips of most of their humanity away, if not all of their humanity, turning them into beings instead of humans. I would say Mother's coven maybe wasn't necessarily evil at first, and then she started dabbling in this, and one day she just got a taste for power, and she ate something that she shouldn't have ate, and then she started to do this. The reason she did the Magicae Maxima was because nobody wanted her to keep getting more powerful and all this stuff, so she used it and sacrificed her coven, only to realize, whoops, that was a mistake. Now, the Sanderson sisters were raised by Mother, who, at this point in time, had been consuming the flesh of children for who knows how long, because we don't know her timeline, and preventing the overtaking by using the life potion to reverse time on her body and what was left of her soul. It was probably a little gooey pile of sludge, but who knows. She raised the Sanderson sisters in dark magic, teaching them that consuming the flesh of children granted them more power, like I said a minute ago, and in doing so, planted hags within them. When she disappeared for unknown reasons, they kept going about their usual routines as if nothing happened, as if nothing was different. But the older they got, the more changes they began to feel. Increasing hunger, physical changes, and an occasional loss of control and a temporary transformation. Upon reading more inside Book's pages, they find out about the hags growing inside of them. Now they're facing a ticking time clock, counting down to when they lose their humanity forever. That's when Book flips to the life potion recipe. He knows it helps Mother because she used it. So it should work for them in the same way. Thus, the Sanderson sisters devise a plan to procure a child to test the potion on before it's too late. Enter the kidnapping of Emily Binks and the first successful brew of the life potion. It stopped the overtaking, which from their appearance in the prologue was well on the horizon. They tested it on Emily, one kid, because they had no idea if this was gonna work. And then it did. So it was like, oh, we can keep doing this and fix it. But Winifred's drive to keep using the potion to the degree that it was being pushed in the first movie once again stems from Hocus Pocus 2, protecting Mary and Sarah. Winifred loves her sisters more than anything else in the world. If she didn't, they would not have died for the power spell. So the moment they realize they have these dark creatures growing inside of them, Winnie knows she has to do something to fix it. She cannot let her sisters suffer for the life she dragged them into. The life potion worked. It aged them a few years backwards and shrunk the hags. Great! But they still have the craving for human flesh, so they know the hags are not gone. If they kept using the potion, aging backwards, they could go back to the time to before their age before they consumed the flesh of a child, therefore extinguishing the hags before they could even be born. The innocence of the child's life force combats the blackness of the hags. It's like kryptonite. Winifred, it's also kind of like a blood transfer, only with life force. Winifred pushes the use of the life potion so she can save her family from losing their humanity, or really what was left of it at this point. Now, you guys are probably thinking about that scene at the end of Hocus Pocus where she's the only one who spits her tongue into the cauldron. Why would she do that for the potion activator in the final act of Hocus Pocus? Simple. She didn't realize they all had to do it to make it work for all three of them. She was trying to speed things up before dawn hit, and they were running on a very, 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 very fast time clock there. Danny was set to be Winifred's drain, while, you guessed it, Jay and Ice were being kept around in those cages to be Mary and Sarah's drains. Then they'd pick off the trick-or-treaters until they were rid of the creatures trying to take over their bodies. Winifred had a plan, but again, she got distracted by that righteous fury when Max and Allison rescued Danny, and especially when Danny called her names. I think Danny actually struck a chord when she said Winifred sold her soul and that she was the ugliest thing that ever lived, because she did know it. She just didn't like being reminded of it. She knew the clock was ticking for her, and most especially her little sisters. She didn't need to be told she did something wrong. She knew Danny was going to die first because she was that reminder. She wants to reverse the curse for her family because it's all her fault they got there in the first place. Some of you might still be arguing, but it was for vanity. I have a counterpoint for you. The reason they want to stay young and beautiful is because of their father. They see him in each other, in their features. He always told his daughters how beautiful they were. Their looks are their last connection to their dearly departed Papa Sanderson. And if their bodies were to transform into these hags, any trace of their father, whom they loved dearly and lost before they were grown, would be erased. So basically, their last connection to him would be gone. Winifred wanted the power to protect her family from the Puritans who wanted them banished and possibly harmed, but as a great TV character once said,
all magic comes with a price.
And they absolutely paid it. So there you have it. That's my theory on why the life potion use was so prudent to the Sanderson sisters. They only had so much time left before they ceased being witches, and transformed into horrifying hags forever. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. It's free, it helps me. What helps me helps you guys get more great content like this. Thursday night, I'll be back on Twitch playing more Pokemon Omicron at 7:45 Central Standard Time, 8:45 Eastern Time. There will not be a Black Flame gaming stream this weekend or next weekend, as I will be in Salem, Massachusetts for a vacation, and the It's Just a Bunch of Halloween Hocus Pocus convention. If any of you subscribers are going to be there at the same time and you spot me out and about, come say hi to me. I would love to see you. You'll be getting a video of my tour of Thackeray Binks's home next week for the video. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be recording it on my phone. You're going to see it as I'm seeing it. If you're a regular on this channel, please remember to drop a like and share your thoughts on this theory down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Casey Zogelman, aka the Fourth Sanderson Sister, and I'll see you witches and wizards later.
I am gonna